Napoli fans around the world, welcome to this disappointing episode of Napoli Talk. Now, a 4-0 defeat is it's tough to swallow. It came out of nowhere, and to be honest, guys, I'm pissed off. I'm really pissed off, guys. There's no two ways around it. I'm pissed off at so many different things, guys. Where do I start? Do I start with the Ultras today that behaved in the most unacceptable way? Basically beating up each other and other fans if people wanted to support Napoli because they were having this protest where they weren't going to watch the game and they were going to turn their backs on the players and they were not going to sing and chant. It's like, if you want to do that, do your thing. That's fine. If you want to pay a ticket to turn your back on the team, literally not watch the game, fine, do that. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money and how to watch the game, but don't go around and trying to impose things on other people. There's people that paid a ticket that got beat up at the stadium because they were chanting, trying to support their own team. What in the hell is going on? This is not something that should happen in any civilized country. Definitely shouldn't be happening to a team that is first in the league, that has been playing so well. Why? Because they're protesting the fact that De Laurentiis doesn't let them bring drums and banners and flags to the stadium. Get a fucking life, man. Honestly, that's... If you think that supporting your team means waving around the flag and putting a striscione, the banner, then you've got it all wrong. That's not what supporting your team is about. Supporting your team is about being there and doing the thing that's best for them at the moment. They don't need banners and flags and all that stuff. They just need fans to be there and sing and support them and behave civilly. What happened today on the stands is crazy. And I say that because, man, I've got family that goes there, and I don't want to hear on the news or on Twitter that people are getting beat up if they're trying to support their team. It's like, that should never happen on a football field. That should never happen. And I know that some people will be pro-ultras on this. They'll say, oh, the ticket prices are too high. Oh, they're limiting our freedom to express the way we want to. It's fine. You believe that? That's great. I let you believe that. Go protest in a more civilized way. Don't be degenerates. All right? It's honestly so frustrating because it definitely had an impact on the players as well. It was an unreal atmosphere. For 90 minutes at home, I had to listen to the Milan fans sing. Because our own fans would beat up anyone that would sing. That's not... And obviously, like, you could say how maybe it affected or didn't affect the game. For me, it affected the game. The players were obviously not feeling it today. And the whole atmosphere in the ground was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. This shouldn't be happening. There's different channels. Nowadays, set up your own goddamn YouTube channel and say what you need to say about the club on YouTube. If you want to protest, do something like that. If you want to have your opinion heard. But don't go and beat up people or affect the team in a negative way. If you paid money to go and watch the game, just behave. Just behave. You wanna be quiet, fine, be quiet, but don't beat up people that are trying to support their team. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Anyways, rant over. And I might have to make a separate video about this thing because I know that there's a lot of people that don't know all the details about what's going on between the club and the ultras and this and that, and it's just so stupid. It's just a bunch of degenerates ruining everything as always. But yeah. Anyways, let me get to one of the fans here. Heitor Basilio, thank you, man, for your $11. I wonder what R means. Anyways, thank you for your donation. Says, I think people are exaggerating the criticism of some players. Today, nobody played well, and we can't rule out what we did during the season. You're right. All right, so today, it's a bad day at the office. All right, it's a bad day at the office, and it happens. All right, even though I'd like to believe that a bad day at the office kind of ends at a 2-0, 3-0. 4-0 is worse than a bad day at the office. But you know, let's put things into context. Obviously, that break was much longer, but this is a team that obviously struggles to find its feet after a break, and that's something we've got to improve. It's one of the few things maybe we have to improve on this season. I just hope we bounce back very quickly. However, you know, over the last few weeks, we also lost against Lazio, so we are losing maybe more often than not some of these big games, right? We've lost against, you know, since Christmas, we've lost against Inter, Lazio, and Milan. So we've obviously won some of the big games. We won against Juventus, we won against Atalanta, against Roma. But, you know, it's 50-50, so that's kind of worrying for the Champions League. I don't think we're going to see the same performance in the Champions League. I think Spalletti is going to be able to, you know, press on the reset button, and I'd be surprised if the scoreline is anywhere near as big in the Champions League. And, you know, I'm just grateful, actually, that we had this game now, and we can iron out all the mistakes before the big one. Let me get to some comments. Fabrizio Landria says, hi, after Inter Napoli we won 5-1 against Juve, and after Napoli Lazio we won 2-0 against Atalanta. We are a strong team and we will face April matches in the best way. Yeah, Fabrizio here, ciao, says something very important, that, you know, we bounce back. We lose and then we win big. And I hope that that's going to be the case. And it goes with what I was saying before, that I think these are one-off defeats after a break. But I also maybe get the feeling that this one was a defeat due to the atmosphere around the team today, both with the fans, but also just generally maybe so many celebrations happening in the streets. And I just wonder whether the team has sort of already, you know, not given up. Given up is not the right word, because, I mean, we're going to win the title, but whether they've you know, they're not putting the same amount of effort anymore in the league. The problem with that, for me, is that it's going to affect your Champions League run, because a defeat like this is going to affect morale, whether you care about 3 points or not. If you lose 4-0, it's going to affect your morale. And if it doesn't affect your morale, it definitely will affect Milan's morale. So they're going to come into that game with so much more confidence than they would have otherwise. So it will naturally affect the Champions League tie. So, you know, I think it's a risky business, the one that Napoli is playing, if they have taken their foot off the pedal in the Serie A to just concentrate on the Champions League. Because those things, there's a spillover effect. The other thing is that I believe that once you turn off the switch, it's very hard that play in this alternating way. It's very hard to sustain. And in the long term, there comes a time when you fail to return on the arts, giving less importance to the Serie A, waiting for the Champions League game, and then the Champions League game comes and they're just not quite in the rhythm to face those big matches. Let me get to, before I read all your comments, let me also thank Payman Dadgar. Thank you for the £4.99 donation. Says, we played top 5 in Serie A in 2023 and we lost 3. In 4 against Milan in the last 2 years, we looked worse in all 4. I've said it before, they are favorites in Champions League. Yeah, I mean, it goes with what I was saying before about how since we came back from Christmas, we've been on and off with these big games. We've won some, we've lost some. But I think it kind of goes to show that, you know, the level between Serie A teams is maybe not so big as the table suggests. Napoli have obviously been very consistent, but when it comes to one-off games against Inter, against Milan, against Roma, against Lazio, against Juve, like, anyone can win those games. It's a very, very tight league in that regard, in a shoot-off kind of environment where It's over the course of 90 minutes. Obviously, over the course of a season, we have a good squad, a deep squad. Things went well for us, not so well for their teams, and the gap is what it is. But in a 90-minute game or in a 180-minute game, which is the Champions League soon, anything can happen. You know, the 20 points or whatever gap that we have to some of these teams, they mean absolutely nothing in 90 minutes, and we have to be very careful when it comes to next week. Mike Ekstad says, embarrassing today all around, no comment, drop a like for Dom today, everyone. Thank you, Mike, thank you for your donation, and I couldn't agree more that it was embarrassing. It's it's ridiculous what's happening. Let's see. Drop a like if you want to. I get that it's not easy to drop a like on this video. It's the title is not so nice. But let me read some of the other comments before we get to an analysis of the game. But I mean, even then, the analysis of the game is going to be what it is, right? I mean, it's how do you analyze a game where you lost 4-0 and I think was affected by external reasons to a great extent? But we'll try. But let me see some comments first. Spalletti always late for subs, says ex-Bryden. I mean, come on. At this point, we were 3-0 down at the 50th minute. There was literally no reason to... I mean, the problem wasn't Spalletti making subs at this point, right? Nicholas Wilger says, bad loss, but heads up onto the next one. Eric Lamela. I think Simeone did well relatively, but he isn't vocal enough like Ozzy to ask his team attacking partners to press higher up. That's true. I don't think Simeone had a horrible game. Maybe he could have scored in the first half with one of the chances that he had, a half chance. But I guess failed to get the team to put more balls into the box for him. Ossi, as you say, is very vocal about it, complains every time someone doesn't cross it, whereas Simeone maybe just kind of accepts the fact that someone would pass the ball backwards instead of crossing it to him. And, you need that in the game to remind your teammates to put a ball into the box. Martin says, we've been run out and outplayed in the midfield. I agree, the midfield was horrible today. Water 1415 says, but let me guess, people will make excuses for him while criticizing Mairorui, Politano, and Lozano, who contributed more to attack than him. I'm not really sure who he's talking about. Oh, Kvara was a ghost today. I think Kvara was a little bit better than some of the other players. Eric Lamela says, Meret, oh, what can I say? Yeah, I didn't like Meret today. He was on the ground for Leao's first goal. Georgie says, what a ghost. He was the only one who was dribbling. Yeah, I agree. Kvara did well. Kvara did well today. Honestly, we can't expect Kvara every time to score a goal or assist, but he basically tried to make a few things happen. He was the one that was beating a few players. I mean, without Kvara and without Politano today on the wings, we would have had nothing. At least our wingers today were beating their men every once in a while. It was kind of an even match between them and Teo and Calabria. It wasn't a bad game that they played. If we lost this game, it's because in the midfield, we were bullied by Tonali and Benacer. That's the reason. And obviously by Diaz. All right. Zio 500. Thank you, man, for the $5 donation. Says, I'm angry. This game has upped the ante for the Champions League fixtures. I think that Milan acts like they are the better team. You are right. I think now this game has to light some sort of fire in Napoli. The team has to now use this as motivation. If they were maybe underestimating Milan a little bit coming into the Champions League game, this game is gonna really, really set some fire in them, I hope. And this is what's gonna make the difference between a great team and a spectacular team, because I still think this team is great. But let's see if they are European level legendary great. Let's see if they can reach this final that we said a few weeks ago that is within reach for Napoli. Sufus Koba also agrees that Kvara had a good game. Maximus says, I will say Milan did a great job containing Lobo. That was huge for them. Yeah, Tonali today was incredible. More than Lobo, they really contained Zielinski and Anguissa, you know. And even when Lobo did have the ball, he just wasn't able to find any sort of solution. Simone Nicoletti says, I think if we want to take a positive from this game, it can be that Milan showed their hand, as now we have time to adapt for the Champions League. I agree. Milan today, you know, I can't see them changing anything for the next game, where like Milan, as you said, literally showed their hands. They said, we have, you know, these weapons and this is how we use them at our best. I can't see them bringing anything new on Wednesday that could potentially surprise us. Not this Wednesday, the one out in 10 days, that could surprise us. So that's a positive for Napoli, whereas on our side, we definitely have some things still up our sleeve, including the likes of Osimhen. Let me just get some water, guys. But yeah. All right, let's see. What else what other comment we can take. Daniel Peters says, after the L's is when Dom shines, critical when it's deserved, but also brushing aside the weak arguments of panic, merchants, and doomsday. I do like and doomsdayers. I do agree with that. About the fact that it's important to separate, you know, real criticism versus catastrophic nonsense criticism. This is one game, it's 90 minutes, it's important, and it can give us some insights into this team, into some weaknesses, but at the same time, we have to consider the greater context of the season and everything. So yeah, obviously we can say how maybe this team doesn't react very well to international breaks, how maybe, you know, we get a little bit bullied by some of the teams in the top half of the table, Inter, Milan, Lazio, when it comes to the midfield, and maybe we need to make a change in the midfield against these teams. Maybe Zielinski, Lobotka, Anguissa works well sometimes, most times, 95% of the times, but maybe for 5% of these games, maybe we need, I don't know, Elmas instead of Zielinski, for example. I don't know, something to consider. So yeah, I mean, we need to draw some conclusions from this game, obviously, but let's not say that, oh, this team is horrible, because it's not. It's not a horrible team at all. Now let's see. Let's see some more comments. Yeah, the ultras, you guys all spoke about how it's embarrassing from the ultras. Obviously, I think I'm gonna make a video about it. It's a very difficult subject, guys, the whole ultras thing, because I'm not in that circle. I don't really know anyone in that circle either. So if I make a video about it, I want to make sure that I represent not just my points of view, but I also want to understand first their point of view and like really understand it, not make a video pretending like I know all the facts. I want to really have a chance to sit down, if possible, with a few of them and like actually like hear what they have to say, because I've got my opinion about it. I also think that the whole thing about ticket prices being too expensive, I don't know how true that is, because if you go and you look at prices all over the world, our prices are not that much more expensive. I mean, it's, how can you blame a president that puts prices to reflect the current market? And sometimes our prices are lower. And for the few times that they're higher, it's like, dude, you could literally buy a season pass at Curva B for 300 euros. 300 euros guarantees you 19 games. All right? It's crazy. It's such a crazy deal. Like, I mean, if you do the math, it's literally about 15 euros a game. 15 to 20 euros a game. So it's not that expensive if you do the season pass. And instead, these guys are spending more money actually by paying game by game just because they don't want to be in the system. It's like, And then they complain about the ticket prices. Like, dude, we gave you a solution about it. Just pay the season pass. Anyways, whatever. I'm gonna make a video about it at some point. Yeah, let me go to some other comments. Napoli's in the global spotlight for the first time in 30 years, and this is how we show ourselves. Shaking my head, says Alessandro Kuric. Yep, I agree. Paul says it is key now to learn how to deal with the high press of Milan on our fullbacks and the man marking on Lobo. Milan had the perfect match, made every chance count. I agree, Paul. I agree. Milan, they played the way they needed to play. They even changed the way they've been playing the past few months, because Milan were playing with 3 at the back recently. Today they changed to a 4-2-3-1, and that allowed them, I think, to put more bodies in the midfield, because when they were playing the 3 at the back, it's actually 5 at the back, and they would have lost a man in the midfield. By limiting themselves, let's say, to 4 at the back, they regained someone in the midfield, and they managed to I think be better than us there. They were going to every second ball. They were just very, very physical, and also had a lot of quality. Like, the quality that Milan showed today was of the highest level, guys. I mean, some of the guys like Salemakers, the dribbling that he did. Obviously, we know about Leao and Brahim Diaz. We expect them to be really good at that kind of stuff, but even their fringe players were exceptionally good today, technically, which, just shows that maybe we need to be very careful of Milan in the next few games. Zeo says Napoli looked like they were sleepwalking. Osam Comedy says we missed Osimhen, the aura. Yeah, dude, I agree, man. Maybe more than tactically or technically or whatever the case may be, just having that presence on the field, man. Like, you're right, it's the aura, the Osimhen aura, the Victor aura. He's the guy that, I don't know, man, you just walk into the field and the other team is just automatically scared of Osimhen because of his record. And it affects the game, because football is like 80% psychological, guys. I mean, like, the difference between teams, between a team like Milan and a team like Napoli, the starting 11, the difference is nothing. These are all the most talented players on the earth. Like, there's very little between them. If the scoreline is as big as it was today, if it's a 4-0, it's obviously because something happened mentally. There was something that was not working right with Napoli today. Let's go to a few more comments, and then we'll go to the match analysis. Kvara misses Ossi, says Georgie. They're taking too much attention on the opposition on them. When there's no Ossi, Kvara is taking all that attention. I do agree. Like, Simeone is dangerous, but not as dangerous as Osimhen. Also, he doesn't provide as many options as Osimhen. Osimhen has the option of I think beating players more in the air, of going long because he's faster. And it also allows Kvara's creativity to come out a bit more, because now all of a sudden Kvara has many different options of where to play the pass. Whereas with Simeone, I think you have to play the ball a bit more to his feet. And while he is good in the air, you really have to play a ball that comes in with a certain amount of pace, so that he can, find that half a yard over the defender and time his run better. Whereas with Osimhen, you can literally just chuck a ball inside the box, even without any pace, even without him, necessarily finding that half a yard, just because he's so much better at the jump that he's going to get to the ball before the defender. Doesn't have to do anything fancy before. Did anybody see that fourth goal from Alexis Salemakers and how he humiliated Kim? That was too cold, and I feel more. Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was like, poof. If this guy is doing those things, then this is really not our day. Anyways, let's go to the analysis of the game, guys. All right, and then I'll keep reading some of your comments as I go along. By the way, Awesome Comedy says, "Where's Oliveira? Is very good tactically, and I think he would have played today, especially against the physical team like Milan. But Oliveira is injured with in Italian it's called pubalgia. I don't know what it is in English, to be honest, but it's basically an injury that can take a few weeks. It's a muscular injury. It takes a few weeks to recover from. So maybe we'll see him at the end of the month, maybe next month. I don't really know. But it's not a quick one, unfortunately. Right. Let's go with the analysis of the game. So the first chance of the game from the third minute came to Milan, to Brahim Diaz, and I think this is a bit of a prequel, a forecast of things to come. I mean, look at this space that Brahim Diaz has at the edge of the box with both Lobotka and Zielinski too late to get back, and Kim too far really to be in an effective blocking position. The ball played to him was just way too easy, and this time Meret saved it. Next, we have that half chance by Simeone. Good ball by Zielinski to him. As I said, quick, fast-paced ball where Simeone is able to get a half a yard of space, but puts too much power behind his effort and it goes wide. This is a half chance that, maybe we could have done a bit better. Maybe we could have hit the target, but it is what it is. And then we get to Milan's first goal. And actually, on the face of it, we weren't set up too badly because we had Kim on one of the players, which now it's too small for me to see who it was. I think it's Calabria. Kim on Calabria. Two players on Brahim Diaz, Mario Rui and Lobotka. And then you have Leao being marked by Rahmani and Di Lorenzo. So it was a situation that was kind of under control, if you think about it, because you've got 5 Napoli players defending against 3 Milan players. But with one movement, Brahim Diaz takes out 2 Napoli players, gets past Lobotka, and all of a sudden, from a 5v3, it becomes a 3v3. And then he plays a beautiful ball to Leao. And I mean, here it's a matter of Leao having great speed, Di Lorenzo and Rahmani maybe not having the pace to match him, but also just a great pass and a great run. I mean, here it's just a beautiful play by Milan. Nothing to say. I mean, this is a classic thing that we would see Napoli do with Osimhen if Osimhen was on the field. And we always talk about how good of a goal these are for Napoli, and now it's our turn to take that. But the problem is that it could have been avoided, because I still think Meret was in a position where he could have saved it. But look, he's already on the ground before Leao chips the ball. Whereas in these cases, goalkeepers need to stay high. They need to make the goal big. Instead, Meret falls down, is off balance before Leao takes a shot, and makes the goal very big for Leao. Instead of making himself big, he makes the goal very big, gives Leao a very easy opportunity to score. And this for me is a very rookie mistake by Alex Meret, and one that I don't really expect him to make looking at this season. Napoli talk, according to the Napoli website, it's a lombalgia, not a pubalgia. Oh, that's good. Basically means he has a lower backache. All right, I then got those two confused, which is actually better, a lombalgia than a pubalgia, because pubalgia, I think, is a bit more difficult to fix. Lombalgia is what Kvara had earlier in the season, and it's what Maradona also used to have. And usually, with very strong painkillers, after maybe like 10 days of rest, you can start playing again. Whereas a pubalgia, you can't do that. So that's good. Thank you, Vesavius. By the way, I for those of you that are new to the channel, If some of you ever get the chance to look at the links in the description, I still have the Discord, the Napoli Discord link that you can join, which Vesavius is the OG guy that deals with that. So yeah, go check it out. Anyways, let's move on. I just want to bring this moment in the game to light, because this was not a foul by Milan, but a random, like it was a normal, just Teo Hernandez gets the ball off Politano, right? And Politano falls to the ground, and there's no reason for anything to happen, and all of a sudden you get two Milan players run up to Politano and, go all crazy on him and be like, what are you doing? Like trying to get a foul from us, blah, blah, blah. And Politano's like, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're saying. And then you have Tonali come in, and he's going to gang up on Politano as well. So all of a sudden you got three Milan players on Politano who did absolutely nothing wrong. And the whole time I'm thinking, where are the Napoli players defending Politano here? Anguissa has taken his time. Di Lorenzo is not there. And I just feel like we're not in control of the football field. It's in these small moments like these where you really understand who's in control of the game. Like, remove tactics, remove who has possession of the ball, but it's like, who has the psychological upper hand in the game? And in this scene, Politano on the ground, Teo and Leao looking down on him, it just felt like we lost the game at that particular point. And that's why when it was the 18th minute, I screenshotted that. I never take these shots after the game. I always do it as the game is going. And the reason why I took this one in such a random moment was because I just felt it inside. Like, here is, like, we've lost the game. Like, we've lost control of the game, at least. But yeah, I don't know if you guys had that same feeling looking at this. But yeah. However, I do have to say, Politano, did react to that a few minutes later and did bully Teo Hernandez off the ball. And he was one of the few that actually, I think, played a decent game. Tracked back, tried a few dribbles against a very tough opponent. So I gotta say, Politano, I think today did his thing. But still, I just didn't get a good feeling 2 minutes earlier. Anyways, let's get to the second goal. And instead here, I think some players for Napoli were sleeping a little bit. So I highlighted three players, Zielinski, Kvara, and Politano. All three of them in this particular occasion, I don't think were switched on enough and not putting nearly as much pressure as they should have on players that would then enter the box. So, for example, Brahim Diaz, who sits in between Kvara and Zielinski in this shot, is the guy who's going to score in the end, and he's not going to get picked up by anybody. And Zielinski and Kvara, long way away from the action. But the other important thing here to note is that the ball comes in to Giroud, and he beats Kim to the ball, and it goes to Teo Hernandez. Now, why is that important? Because we talked about it against Torino 2 weeks ago, how Kim never usually makes a mistake here. He's always choosing the timing of his interceptions really, really well. And I mean, we talked about it against, I think maybe if not Torino, against Atalanta. And the fact that he lost it here against Giroud just shows that we weren't in it today. Because I think a few weeks ago, Kim would have gotten to this ball before Giroud, would have made this interception. But yeah, he plays it to Teo Hernandez, who then plays it wide. The ball gets crossed in. Kim, again, maybe gets a little something on this ball, but not convincing enough. And look at Kvara and Zielinski, nowhere near. The two Milan players, zero perception of danger. and then Brahim Diaz, does his thing, a little cutback, and scores, and it's 2-0 Milan before the break. And Napoli have a little bit of a reaction, but they can't really make anything happen. And this moment here in the 40th minute is another example of how we had no control of the game. Mauro Rui gets taken down by Brahim Diaz, and basically was gonna run into 4 Milan players anyways. That for me looks like, I don't know, the Great Wall of China or something. He gets a hand to his face, falls down. I don't know if that was enough for a free kick or not. But then literally 2 seconds later, because we lose the ball there, Brahim Diaz, who won the ball, then wins a free kick and gets Lobotka booked. And now Lobotka is playing with a yellow card from the 40th minute onwards, and it totally affected our game as well. And it's just, a summary of basically the first half at least. Let me see some comments. H says, he said something like he is tired physically and mentally. Maybe he just wants to focus on a club. Kind of disgracing playing for a national team, but he did apologize after. But, he seems tired and frustrated from all the rumors and attentions. Hopefully he will come back with the right mentality, says H. So he's obviously, I think, talking about Kim. And yeah, I did see that comment, the interview that he did, that he was a little frustrated, just wants to go back to Napoli and focus on Napoli and this and that. And it does seem like he is struggling a little bit. He's had to carry an injury around for a bit. He's also been playing a lot of games with this yellow card looming over his head, where it's literally been 4 or 5 games where if he gets a yellow card, he skips the next one. And that's a bit of a source of stress when he plays, potentially. Maybe Kim, needs a bit of a break. And I think Spalletti recognized that in the second half when he took him off for at least 10 minutes and put Juan Jesus on. Will Somaliyid is obviously a Milan fan. By the way, I welcome Milan fans on the chat. I would actually love it if they gave their opinion on the game in a constructive way, obviously, and how they think from their more expert opinion about Milan, how they think their team played, why you think Milan played so much better this game versus the other game. Was it something that you noticed from your team, or I don't know. But yeah, I welcome other fans to be in the chat, as long as you're providing good comments. But yeah, don't be annoying. But that's usually the Juventus fans, not really the Milan or Inter ones. Anyways, we in the second half looked like we're gonna react, and I think we started the first 3 minutes quite well. I think we lasted like 3 minutes. That's what she said. But we lasted like 3 minutes, and we had this shot from Mauro Rui. And I thought, okay, here we go, But then at the same time, I was thinking, if we're relying on Mauro Rui to carry the ball forward in the first half, to try to win us fouls at the edge of the box, and Mauro Rui is our most forward player taking the shots inside the box, we are kind of screwed. So it's a good thing that we were reacting, but maybe we want this ball to fall to different players. But yeah, Mauro Rui had a good shot here, and the annoying thing is that Maignan here saved it with his head, right? He was literally knocked out, and we get a corner, and instead of whipping the ball inside the box, potentially near Maignan, because maybe he's a little, dazed by the situation, what do? We play it short, and then we have to play it all the way back to Lobotka. It's like, guys, what are you doing? We're 2-0 down. Have some urgency. Play smart. Try to, make it hard for the goalkeeper who's just been knocked out. Force him into a save and not do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't really know. Xenon says, as a Milan fan, big difference was our midfield who played very well, as well as Diaz and Alexis who were amazing, and Leao actually scored after 2 months. Yeah, Napoli managed to resuscitate Leao, who hadn't been scoring for a long time. I was just very interested in how they changed formation. I didn't expect it, but it worked out. I wonder if they're gonna keep this for the next few games. I mean, surely Pioli has to keep it for the next few games, because if he changes and they lose, everybody's gonna say that he is, that he messed up. So Milan have to play like this in the next few games. They took advantage of Osimhen not being there. When he comes back, it's a wrap, says Mike. Gaga says maybe Spalletti hides the real game from Milan. Potentially. But yeah, I mean, losing... I can understand if he didn't want to reveal all his cards, but maybe losing 2-0 would have been fine. Enough. Not fine, but enough. But damn, 4-0. Oof. I hope that wasn't part of the plan. Pioli said he already decided to change it before the Udinese game. Yeah. I mean, I think Pioli, he's had a difficult season, but he remains a good coach, I think. Anyways, we get to how Milan scored the third goal, and again here it's just very little to do with tactics really, and more to do with desire. And Tonali here beats Zielinski off the ball, beats Anguissa, and wins this 2v1 duel, and immediately passes the ball to Leao, and Leao does his thing, few quick dribbles. Rahmani is basically sent for a hot dog, and great strike by Leao. I mean, all of Milan goals today, to be honest, were incredible. The first one was an incredible pass and dribbling and pass by Diaz. The second one, good dribbling by Diaz to go and cut it back and send Mairurui to the shops. This one, again, great from Tonali and Leao. And the fourth one was great from Salemakers. But, I mean, look, Milan today were dominating the midfield. This is, again, another demonstration. 3 Milan players on a Napoli player. Like, we had no options in there at times. It felt like the stadium, the field was 100 meters bigger than it usually is. Like, there was no teammates nearby to our players. And then when Salemakers did this, I mean, we talked about the Kvara goal against Atalanta, where he had 8 players in the box all against him. I mean, this is pretty close. No, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you consider Kvara, and then 7 Meret. He's 7 players pretty much. Yeah, obviously nowhere near the same level of a goal, but credit to Milan. They scored some fantastic goals, I've got to say. And if there's a positive from this game, there's 3 positives, all right? Number 1, we saw Raspadori play, which is good because he hasn't been playing. He's been injured for a long, long time. So Raspadori playing, and he looked sharp. He missed some chances. He should have passed it to Kvara later on in the game. Okay, but he looked good. Another positive was... that's about it from Napoli. So then the other positive... the other positive is that we've still got Osimhen up our sleeves, whereas Milan, I don't think they've got anything left that they can surprise us with. So, it will be different in the next game. And then the third positive that I was thinking about was, okay, we conceded 4 goals, but at least they were nice goals, At least we saw some nice football, right? Does that console you? No, it doesn't, right? It doesn't console me either. I tried. Sorry, guys. But, yeah. Old Hearted Rossonero says, ciao, brother. Big night for us. It's going to be awesome Champions League nights. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously for Milan fans, it's a great night for them. This is gonna be, I think, the best game of their Serie A season. Hopefully of their entire season. Hopefully it doesn't get even better in other competitions. But yeah, I mean, let's see the Champions League game. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different competition. Different. Yeah, let's see. I do think that. Actually, let's ask you guys. I'm gonna put a poll. There's a lot of you guys here. I'm gonna say who's favorite for the Champions League. All right. So this is, the not for the game for the one game, but to pass, And all right, I've put the vote. So based off this game, who's the favorite now? Is it Milan, who have battered us, humiliated us over 90 minutes, or is it Napoli, who have, to be honest, humiliated Milan over the course of a season, if you think about it? Because being 20 plus points ahead is a humiliation in itself. A different kind, a less direct, a bit more indirect, a bit more nuanced, but still a humiliation against the ex-Italian champions. So, yeah, interesting to know what you guys have to say about this. So far, Napoli is winning this, two-thirds more or less, or 60-40 for Napoli. Let's see how this progresses over time. Will be interesting to know. Anyways, let's see. Do we have to look at the stats? Yeah, let's look at the stats for a second here. Look, at the end of the day, the stats don't really tell you much because we've got more shots, more possession, more passes, more precision. But then again, you expect that because we were losing, and so we were gonna take more desperate shots. We did have more possession because we were playing at home. So, I mean, those stats don't really mean anything. Right, player ratings. Now, it's a lot of red. There's no greens. No one gets above average. I will say, Kvara, out of the ones that started, all right, I'm pretty sure Kvara and Politano deserve a 6. Like an average. Not based on their average, but just like an average. Like, okay, you weren't horrible. Kvara wasn't horrible at all. Kvara actually did well. He dribbled, provided some solutions to players. He did what he could. We can't expect him to have a moment like Maradona every game. All right. Politano as well. Politano was, doing his thing, defending, tracking back, dribbling pastel. Actually, I think out of the two, he might have been even better than Kvara today. I think he beat his players. He beat Teo Hernandez more times than Kvara beat Calabria. So it's a good performance by him. I gave Simeone a 5.5 because I don't think he involved himself too much in the game, and maybe he missed, looking back, a very important half chance. The midfield for me was terrible today. Lost every single battle there was to lose. None of them played well. This is their worst game in a long, long time. And then the rest of the defense, very poor, but I think that the goals that we conceded was because we were exposed by the midfield. We were left, in one-on-one situations and stuff like that. But yeah, not good. They also get a bad rating. I did kind of save Mairo Rui because, look, at least he provided something a few times. Like in the first half, he was the one galloping forward down the left-hand side. in the start of the second half. He was the one that tried to get a shot off inside the box. I think maybe that was our only shot inside the box in the whole second half. Some people will say that Milan's second goal is because Mauro Rui didn't defend well enough. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, 6 is still not a good score. And then I gave Meret a 3 because obviously, man, if you're a goalkeeper and you let in 3 goals, one of them you were sitting down quite literally before the shot was taken, and then the fourth one went in between your legs from a guy called Salami. Okay, his name is Salamakers, but close enough. I mean, you deserve a 3. Even though, you know, I am Team Meret, and I have always kind of been Team Meret. You know, I was never a hater of Meret. If you go back to my summer transfer video this summer, I said goalkeepers need trust, and Meret wasn't getting enough trust when Ospina was there, and that's why his performances dipped. I still remember the Meret from, back in the day. I still remember the Meret that was a starter in the first few months with Ancelotti before his injuries. He was great, and I protected him. So I don't want people to say to me that I am a Meret hater and that's why I'm giving him a 3. That's not true. I always supported him. All right. Elmas, I don't know. I just expected more from him. Raspadori, he played for the first time in a long time. Maybe it's a bit harsh, 5.5, but I feel like he could have passed it to Kvara at the end there for a consolation goal. The other guys, I mean, whatever, a 6. Juan Jesus, renewed for Napoli a few days ago. He gets an NA. But yeah, I mean, all these scores are just like whatever. Like we lost 4-0. 4-0. And Spalletti obviously gets a 3 because he got outplayed by Pioli and didn't have any solutions for us. And I feel like at the 3-0 point, we risked going down like 4, 5, 6, 7, and he didn't really change much. It's like, dude, we're losing 3-0. Just please get tight in the defense. Like, put 6 at the back if you have to, or 6 in the, whatever you feel like you need to do. Put 6 in the midfield or 6 in the back. Play 3 goalkeepers, man. Do something. And instead, he just played the same players forever, and it's just like, dude, it's not working. It's not working, and we conceded the 4th goal. And we risked even conceding 5 with Giroud actually at one point. So yeah, let's see. Rudy says, I hope we don't lose like this in the Champions League. No, I doubt it. I really doubt it. It's impossible that this sort of scoreline continues. It's blatant that Kvara missed his partnership with Victor, says Hazo. Yep. They literally bullied us tonight and didn't get any calls our way, which I blame the ref for that. Plus, it was his first game officiating, says Mike. I didn't know that it was his first game. If it's true, very strange that they would put a guy on his first game in such a big game. That would be strange. But yeah, we did get bullied. The ref obviously, I think, allowed Milan players a lot of freedom, and they took it. But we got to be a team that just accepts that that's how some referees are, that they're not going to call a foul, that if a random piece of your limb goes onto your face, the ref's not going to do anything about it. And, but yeah. Oh man, Manads says that he went all the way to Naples and got disappointed. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry about that. That sucks. That really blows, man. I don't know what to say to make you feel better there. But I promise you will have another opportunity in life, and it's not gonna happen again. So yeah. Cheers to the future, I guess. Black Bison says, come on, Dom. Kvara was by far the best. He got 7.3 at Sofa score, 7.2 at who scored. Okay. Listen, I have never once in my life looked at Sofa score or who scored for player ratings about players that I've seen play with my own eyes for 90 minutes. Because They will. For me, those ratings don't mean anything. I've talked about it in other videos. If you want, I can do a separate video altogether about player ratings of these like AI software or whatever the case may be, and I don't agree with them. I just don't. For me, it's first of all, they do a blanket thing, like no, I won't get into it now. It's too complicated. But for me, it's a 6. For me, it's a 6. Guys, I gave 7.5 when he's had assists or goals. How can I give him anything close to that now? Like, it's impossible. So this is just me being consistent with my metric. So yeah. Also, Roland is saying, oh, well, you're giving the same score to him as Ndombele and Lozano. The context is different. The players that come off the bench have a different role to play in the game. Plus, everything is based off your own quality. It doesn't mean that they played the same, guys. It doesn't mean that Kvara played the same as Ndombele, not at all. It just means that he had a very meh game for his standards. The same way Ndombele had a meh game for his standards. I can't compare Ndombele standards to Kvara standards, obviously. If Ndombele played like Kvara, he would be getting an 8. Because Kvara is that much better, right? And when I give Kvara an 8, it's because he does something very, very good. But if a player like Ndombele would do those things, he would probably get a 10 because it would be like, wow, the best game he will ever have in his career. So it's not the same criteria for each player. Everything is based off their relative quality. And if you consider the potential of Kvara, then yeah, this game was a 6 out of 10. The same way, if you consider the potential of Ndombele, this was a 6 out of 10 for him. So, I mean, I think it's a normal grade, and it's not a. And by the way, it's not a criticism on Kvara. So Super Alexander says, what do you expect? Kvara to take the ball and go through all the team? No, I don't expect that. I'm not saying he should have. I've not once said he should have done that or that I expect that from him. You know, I'm just saying he got a 6. Like, chill. Like, I'm not criticizing I'm literally not even criticizing that much the midfield, if you think about it. We lose 4-0 and I'm pretty calm. So I don't really know what you guys are on about. So yeah, I don't know. Also, there might be a hint of bias. I'm just saying from some people, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Maybe he deserved more, but it's all relative to how I see the game, right? These are subjective ratings. So, you know, maybe I'm wrong, guys. Anyways, let's move on from that. Is Osimhen injured? Asks Rudy. And is he going to be available for Champions League? Yeah, he is injured at this moment in time. And by the way, okay, you know what? No, you know what? Screw this. I am not going to sit back here and let you guys tell me how I should do my own player ratings. No, screw that. You know what? I'm pissed off now. All right, let me go on Tutto Napoli. Okay, you see this? This is the website. Okay, that most Napoli fans go to in Italy after a game. All right, and let's see what they gave Kvara. They gave Kvara a 5.5. Look at this, guys. Kvaratskhelia 5.5. I don't know if you guys can see this. All right, 5.5. There you go. All right, so I'm giving him a better grade than what Italian newspapers are giving him. So I don't want you guys to think that I am, anti-Kvara or something like that, right? So anyways. So yeah. All right. Sorry for taking it out on you guys, but you know, I have my patience too at times. Anyways, let's go to what Spalletti had to say. All right, let me go to the Spalletti's press conference because I think it's gonna be an interesting one. All right, Spalletti at DAZN says Milan did a great game. They started the game really well and they took advantage of all their situations that we gave them. For us, we played under our normal level, and we played under our normal level. At the start, it was very difficult to find Anguissa and Zielinski in the midfield. We were struggling to move the ball around, and we messed up way too many passes for our level. Lobotka was always in difficulty, and that depended on how also we tried to recover the ball from them. If we had recovered the ball in different positions by pressing them harder, then it would have been easier for us also on the ball, and it would have helped players like Lobotka also as well. They asked him if the national team things have had an effect on the performance, and he says yes, maybe a little bit. Some of these players had very long trips, they're a bit tired, there's a bit of jet lag, but it also affected the Milan players, obviously. Then obviously we were a little bit unlucky with injuries that happened to some players like Osimhen. Does this affect the Champions League game, they ask him, and he says yes, it does a little bit, because it means that we are no longer favorites in this tie. Milan, had a very particular January, but in the Champions League, everything gets, leveled again. He talks about how there was a little bit of a moment in the tunnel between him and the referee. But actually, he says, well, it's Pioli, Milan's manager, that actually complains more to referees than I do. So, I did nothing wrong. So that's Spalletti. He basically says, he was talking about Paolo Maldini. Because Paolo Maldini was telling Spalletti to stop, criticizing the referee during the game. And Spalletti replied saying, well, Pioli does this way more than I do. And they ask him, is this game going to affect you mentally going forward? And he says, look, I don't know. Usually we always reacted, which is what we were saying at the start of the live. Sometimes, we've lost a game, but afterwards we've always won the next one. Raspadori came back. That's really good news for us. He played really well today. It was fundamental to give him these 20 minutes. I say that the people that entered the game played well. It was a very difficult moment in the game to enter, and they showed great character by being fully concentrated and motivated, and it's reflected in my player ratings. By me giving a 6 to guys like Raspadori and Ndombele and these guys. I mean, it's not easy to sit back and watch your team lose 4-0 when you have no involvement in it, and then the coach asks you to come on and to actually care about the game, and try to undo something that wasn't your fault. So that's why I gave them a decent-ish score. And again, it's because the context that they're doing it is different than the ones that of the starters. So that's why their ratings are relatively higher. But yeah, again, I don't wanna talk about the player ratings because it's just the way I see football, guys. So that's Spalletti. He's basically saying how, hopefully this doesn't affect us too much. We've bounced back before. And now for the Champions League game, there's no more favorites or not favorites. I'm going to end the poll. A lot of you voted, like 100 of you voted on the poll. About 60% of you are saying that Napoli is still the favorite, which is interesting because I think I made this poll in one of the other games, and we were like 85% favorites before, or something like that, which means that, you know, a few of you, a fourth of you, have turned sides, have flipped your opinion about it. Anyways, guys, I think we're all a little upset today, right now, about this game, about these results, about my player ratings, about whatever the case may be, about the ultras and all that sort of stuff. I just think that stuff like this happens, right? And hopefully we bounce back. Hopefully next game we all can enjoy it a bit more, and then afterwards, you know, it's Milan, the first of the Champions League games, and yeah, hopefully by then, guys, we will have something more positive to say about the game after the live. But yeah, a busy April. I mean, look at that. We've got Milan twice, Verona, which is never easy because there's a rivalry between the teams and they're fighting to stay up. You know, I think they're gonna go down, but you know, they're gonna want points. Lecce is not easy. Another southern Italian team. And then Juventus obviously is not gonna be easy. They're kind of on a run of form themselves. So yeah, not an easy April, guys. Anyways, I will end the live here, and yeah, I will end the live here. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and that you forget about this and it doesn't affect your mood too much tomorrow, which I know is impossible, but you know, I hope we move past this quite quickly. You know, the next game can't come soon enough, honestly. But yeah, unfortunately, it's a week away. So, till then, guys, see you. Hopefully, I'll make a video midweek about something. And if not, see you next week. Ciao. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre. I almost forgot about that.